Again, Africa. A few weeks ago, I made a video about the unrecognized country of Ambazonia in Cameroon. It did very well, so I decided to make another video, this one, where I explore another self-proclaimed nation in Africa, one in fact that borders Ambazonia itself, the country of Biafra. If you want the quick answer, Biafra is a partially recognized secessionist state in West Africa that declared independence from Nigeria and existed from 1967 until 1970. Its territory consisted of the predominantly Igbo populated territories in the area, but what it is, the historical context, and the reasons that led to independence are incredibly interesting, so I urge you to stick around and find out. Let's jump into it. What is Biafra? Let's start with the basics. The word Biafra is derived from two Igbo words, Bia, which means come, and Fra, which means take. And Biafra, the country, was named after the Biafra Bay. Its region was home to various ancient kingdoms, mostly dominated by the Igbo people, roughly in the area where Nigeria and Cameroon now are. A 1710 map indicates that the region with this name was one of great importance for European colonizers. And before we get into when Biafra declared independence and why, let's provide some historical context. Travel via the coast of Biafra is estimated to account for 13% of the total number of enslaved people taken from the western African coast. Despite some light Portuguese and then Spanish presence, the British were always the main colonial force, and in 1960, Nigeria became independent from the United Kingdom. Similarly to other new African states, the country's borders weren't exactly accurate when it came to old pre-colonial territories. The final organization was the one that most resembles the territory of modern Nigeria today, called precisely Colonial Nigeria since 1914. But before this, the colonial organization was actually more accurate and divided the territory in two, the Northern and Southern Nigeria protectorates. Northern Nigeria was a colony created from the territories of the old Sokoto Caliphate as well as the even older Kanem Bornu Empire. These two were mostly Muslim feudal states living in a semi-desert environment, which even after British colonialism maintained some autonomy on the ground. While the Southern Nigeria Protectorate was different. It was created by the British to join three small colonies they had in that region. The Niger Coast Protectorate, originally called the Oil Rivers Protectorate. Here we can see a cool stamp from there with the figure of Queen Victoria. This territory had previously been controlled by numerous local rulers, such as the Aro Confederacy, the Kingdom of Benin, the Oron Nation, the Kingdom of Boni, as well as Atakpa, which the British renamed to Duketown. The Lagos colony centered precisely on the port city of Lagos, which conquered the territory from the local Yoruba people, and the Royal Niger Company, a mercantile company chartered by the British government for colonial purposes in Africa, was also key in this territory as it enabled the British Empire to establish control over the lower Niger River against German competition. A fun fact, the Royal Niger Company was eventually integrated with Unilever, a British-Dutch company that exists up to today and mass produces consumer goods. The role of private companies in the story gets even more surprising as we go on. In 1900, the Southern Nigeria Protectorate and Northern Nigeria Protectorate passed from company hands to the British Crown, at the urging of Governor Frederick Lugard. The two territories were amalgamated as the colony and protectorate of Nigeria while maintaining considerable regional autonomy among the three major regions, the Northern Protectorate, the Southern Protectorate, and the colony of Lagos. So now that we have that historical context, we can understand why the people of Biafra are arguably different from the rest of Nigeria. The British amalgamation of different ethnic and religious groups into one federation created internal tensions, which persist in Nigeria up to today. Like I mentioned, the north was mostly Muslim and feudal upon colonization, while the south was animalistic, more tribal, with many of its people then converting to Christianity, both due to the British presence, but also in great deal because of Portuguese missionaries who accompanied traders and officials to the West African coast in order to spread Roman Catholicism. They had done this in the Kingdom of Benin, also known as the Edo Empire, even before the British had established full colonial control. Not only was there this key religious difference between people of the south and the north, but also their culture as African civilizations was different. In the south, there were people of the Igbo culture, as well as the Yoruba, the Edo, the Ibibio, and the Ijao. In the north, the Yoruba were partially present, but none of the other ones were. Instead, there were people of Hausa, Arabic, Fula, and Kanuri cultures. Save some native empires, these people were always ruled separately, some in the north and some in the south. And even the British did it at first, but then, for administrative convenience, they joined them up together. It's even on the record. The so called amalgamation of Nigeria was planned by the British government at the time. We can find it in the report of the Niger Committee from 1898. This report stated that combining those three jurisdictions would reduce administrative expenses and facilitate deployment of resources and money between the areas. You can even access the document itself today. I'll leave a link for it in the description, and they even say themselves. It is worth noting that racial, religious, and cultural differences were not the ultimate deciding factor. Oh, and by the way, I also found this super cool annual report for the Lagos colony from 1898, where they list out the income, expenses, and other interesting details about the British colonial activity in that region. I'll post a link to this in the description as well. And here comes another mistake. Not only did the British ignore regional differences and decide to unify the colonies, but they didn't even fully commit to it. Each region had a native administration staffed by locals and headed by the traditional rulers, mostly emirs in the north and often obas in the south. But even worse, when the British granted Nigeria its independence, they ignored the previous mistakes, and the whole joint colony was given independence as a single state. So now it's 1960, and Nigeria is independent as one country, but within it there is more than only one nation. Ethnic tensions had diminished during discussions of independence. They sort of had a common goal: get the British out. But after they did, ethnic and religious riots began to take place, many of which targeting Igbo people, natives to this Biafra region. These escalated more and more, culminating in the 1966 Igbo massacre. About 300,000 people are estimated to have died, with 1 million being displaced. So, after this, a group of military leaders from Biafra organized a coup to separate themselves from Nigeria and establish their own nation. In 1967, they held a vote, and the local governor declared independence as the Republic of Biafra. Their chosen flag consists of a horizontal tricolor of red, black, and green, charged with a golden rising sun over a golden bar. The 11 rays of the sun represent the 11 provinces of Biafra. The colors were taken from the coat of arms of the Eastern Administrative Region, and in turn, that coat of arms was based on the colors of the Pan African flag. Because of this, it's similar to, for instance, the flags of Kenya and Malawi. It was also the inspiration for the flag of the short lived Republic of Benin, consisting of the Biafran occupied Midwestern region of Nigeria. This is a little bit of a tangent to the story, but the Republic of Benin, which by the way has little or nothing to do with the actual country of Benin today, was another territory of Nigeria which Biafran separatists occupied. It wanted to remain neutral in the conflict, but Biafra was scared that the non-Igbo population would side against them, and so they established a puppet state there, naming it after the region's capital, Benin City, and using a very similar flag to the one they used in Biafra. This strategy backfired though, and the Biafran occupation of this region turned residents against the secessionist cause and was even used by the Nigerian government as supposed justification to escalate the war against Biafra. But let's get back to the main story. What happened after the Declaration of Independence? Nigeria obviously didn't like or accept this, and so they declared war and invaded the separatist region. The Biafrans weren't alone though. They were formally recognized as a sovereign state by Gabon, Haiti, Ivory Coast, Tanzania, and Zambia. This is an odd example. Usually these secessionist states are recognized by no one, and many other nations provided military or diplomatic support. Portugal, France, Spain, Israel, Rhodesia, Norway, South Africa, and the Vatican, as well as non state actors such as Médecins Sans Frontières and some Catholic institutions. In fact, it seems the widely useful and well known Médecins Sans Frontières was actually created because of the conflict in Biafra. Some countries were also more active than others in their support. Portugal, for instance, provided weapons and munitions, as well as medicine and food, which were airlifted from São Tomé e Príncipe. The new country's currency was even printed in Portugal in their national mint. It's odd how the regime supported an independence movement in Africa, but at the same time repressed independence movements in their own African colonies. France's role was also key. There are some reports of French oil company Elf Equitan taking part in aiding the Biafrans. After all, South Nigeria is where the country's valuable oil reserves are. The whole south of the country is richer due to its environment and coastline. One of the arguments for the British wanting to unify the two colonies was precisely to help financing the north via the south's income. The French bet on supporting the Biafrans was to establish a profitable relation in the future to exploit those oil resources. The United States were officially neutral, but there was strong public support for Biafra. The American Committee to Keep Biafra Alive was founded by American activists to spread pro-Biafran propaganda. And US President Richard Nixon was sympathetic to Biafra, accusing Nigeria of committing a genocide against them and calling for the US to intervene in the war to support them, being ultimately unsuccessful in his efforts due to the costs of the Vietnam War. Other than oil, one of the reasons why, for instance, France or the US sided with Biafra was the fact that Nigeria was supported by the Soviet Union, along with Egypt, in the conflict, as was the case with many other African nations at this time. The war lasted for 3 years, and by 1970, the consequences were awful. 100,000 soldiers died between both sides. The Biafran forces, although initially successful in some battles, were ultimately overwhelmed by the larger and better equipped Nigerian army. Over 2 million Biafran civilians died, both from the conflict but also due to famine, a consequence of Nigeria's naval blockade of the region. Foreign support was not enough to aid them, and so they were forced to surrender to Nigeria in order to stop the complete destruction of their people. Not only was the conflict devastating for Biafra and its population, but the aftermath was also not good. After the surrender of Biafrans, some Igbos who had fled the conflict returned to their properties but were unable to claim them back from new occupants. In addition, after declaring its independence, Igbo people withdrew their funds from Nigerian banks and converted them to the new Biafran currency. But after the war, the same couldn't happen, and bank accounts owned by Biafrans were seized, with only £20 being attributed to each person. Federal projects by the Nigerian government in Biafra were also greatly reduced compared to other parts of the country, and all of this led to an even lower trust in Nigerian authorities by the Igbo people. The flag of Biafra, for instance, has also been banned. Because of this, Igbo nationalism emerged immediately after the end of the conflict, and it became more militant since the 1990s, calling for the revival of Biafra. Various Biafran secessionist groups have emerged, such as the Indigenous People of Biafra, the Movement for the Actualization of the Sovereign State of Biafra, and the Biafra Zionist Front. The point is that the people still feel discriminated against there and believe the issues that led to the conflict have not been adequately addressed. Both the discrimination, but also the unequal distribution of resources, many of which come from their region itself. If they were to become a country today, they would face numerous challenges. They would have to recover their currency, established government institutions, and military forces. But with some foreign aid and Nigeria not being against it, it could work, and the Igbo people could finally regain a country of their own. It would be decently sized at 77,000 square kilometers with a rich coast and many natural resources that, if adequately explored by themselves, could finance the country's development and recovery after the conflict. However, the reality is, if Biafrans were unable to win a war against Nigeria in the past, it's unlikely that they would now or in the near future. It sadly seems that the position of Igbo people is more precarious than ever. If independence is out of the question, then another solution must be found. So the key to resolving this issue would likely be addressing the underlying grievances of the people in what is now known not as Biafra anymore, but southeastern Nigeria, and finding a way to create a more equitable and just society. This will require a commitment from both the Nigerian government and the secessionist groups to engage in meaningful dialogue and find a peaceful and sustainable solution. So, That is a brief overview of another temporary country in Africa that a lot of people don't know about, Biafra. How the region was initially ruled by the natives through various kingdoms and empires, then being captured by the British and one of its chartered colonial companies, being part of the Protectorate of Southern Nigeria, and eventually being unified with Northern Nigeria by the British due to administrative convenience, but ignoring the key differences between the two regions, most of all, religion. Upon independence, the mistake in these artificial European made borders was kept, and Nigeria as a whole was granted independence, ignoring the different people of these nations. The persecution of the Igbo people led to their declaration of independence, sparking a terrible internal conflict with Nigeria that led to even more destruction for them and their eventual surrender. What do you think about this? Should Biafra be able to become its own country? Let me know in the comments along with your opinions and thoughts.
Are saying we want to be free. It is not only Biafra that is going to be free this year. A lot of nations will break. Nigeria is going to break into pieces. And we, the Biafra people, are going to make it possible. I am telling you now, it is not a hidden thing. It is going to happen this year. Those of you who are planning to have election in 2023, which is next month, you are going to fail. We will disappoint you, and you will disappoint. You must go and listen to Simon Ekpa, who is doing a very fantastic job. Very great job that Simon Ekpa is doing. Very, very, absolutely fantastic job that he's doing. You must listen to him and share his videos accordingly. Very, very important. He is bringing a new dimension to this very awareness that we are making, and you must listen to him. Very, very important.
Nigeria, on a daily basis, witness the impunity which is so-called Fulani herdsmen extremists who share an ethnic and religious identity with President Buhari and the Fulani elite, which now dominates all key institutions in Nigeria.
Open an investigation specifically into the wide-scale and systematic killing of the civilian population, and most notably targeting the indigenous people of Biafra.
Clear that now we've put the Biafran issue on the radar screen of the government, of the Biden administration, of Congress.
Ongoing and wide-scale systematic killing of the civilian population, and again, specifically targeting the IPOB.
Of weapons being used against Biafrans, but affirmatively supporting an effort to have a independence referendum organized and conducted by the United Nations, as we've done in South Sudan.
They formally open an investigation and look into what we are identifying as a genocide that's being committed by the Nigerian government and extremist Fulanis against the indigenous people of Biafra.
There's been nothing in experience since 1960 to suggest there simply is not a way, given the history of division between the Fulani and the Biafrans, to think that they can coexist under a single sovereign roof.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, Biafrans all over the world. Welcome to this day as we take you on the progress so far of the Biafra liberation. This is the Biafra liberation briefing, where I've come this evening to update Biafrans on the progress we have made so far. I welcome you, ladies and gentlemen of the press, those of you who have seated on your various platforms to listen to this particular briefing this evening. I welcome you, lovers of freedom, friends of Biafrans all over the world, those of you watching from the Biafra different media platform, the Voice of Biafra, 97.5 FM in Biafra land, those of you listening to different and various YouTube channels and other social media platforms run by the Biafra Republic government in exile. I welcome all of you this evening. First of all, I would like to thank Biafra people for the progress we have made so far because of their resilience, their support, and the courage they have displayed so far. Without wasting any of your time, as we have waited for the past 30 minutes to start this particular briefing, I want to inform you today, Biafra people, that we have been able to have the state-by-state structure of the Biafra de facto government of the United States of Biafra. First of all, before going forward in bringing this particular update today, I would like to play a very significant video that many of you may have watched in the past.
In the southeast of the country, we're seeing the Indigenous Peoples Organization of Biafra, IPOB. They are protesting peacefully for the most part on a regular basis. And there has been video, I could show you some video that's been posted of a very...
No, thank you.
These are the images the president didn't want to see. They're on the internet and we can't verify exactly what they show, but it appears as though security forces were shooting at unarmed protesters in the southeastern state of Abia. This is footage I can't personally verify.
I want you to listen to that particular statement. Security agencies, which is known as Boko Haram, that were disguising as security agencies in Nigeria, has been killing Biafrans for ages. This is one of the examples and one of the reasons we are armed today. And of course, as usual, during this time, the Biafra people were without arms. And the president, as you can hear him, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to watch the image. And that is number one point I would like you to listen to and get from this point, because this particular briefing today is going to touch a lot on the security, the Biafra forces, the Biafra resistance fighters, the Biafra Liberation Army, and at the same time to the state structure that we are creating today. So let us continue.
But it looks as though the security forces have gone in very heavy-handedly shooting, and there were reported to be 7 deaths. I'm wondering, how are you planning to deal with this issue of Biafra? You, of course, have first-hand experience.
For a 30-month civil war, at least 2 million Nigerians were killed. And for somebody to wake up, maybe he wasn't born when there was a fighting in Biafra and said he wants Biafra again. We have multi-party democracy system now. Let them organize themselves and vote for to have a state within a state. But to try and interfere with movement of troops, with economy, looking for Biafra, after losing 2 million people, I think they are joking with Nigeria's security, and Nigeria will not tolerate it.
All right. The second point I would like to bring to your attention this evening is what this man said. He said, "Let them organize themselves and vote for a state within a state." And that they are trying to interfere in the Nigeria affair, that Nigeria is not going to tolerate it. Anyway, unfortunately for them and him, we are now organizing ourselves. We now have a state within a state. And that's exactly what I have come to explain to Biafrans today, for those who have been misled into supporting Nigeria Pressure Group. I want you to listen to what I'm about to do this evening, because as of today, we have been able to organize ourselves. We have been able to have a state within a state as of today, until we have the declaration after the self-referendum, which is going to take place very soon. So this is exactly what many of you do not know, and probably he did not understand when he said all those things. Now, I do not need to go and start playing these videos because many of you have watched it. However, I want to inform you this evening that the process and the step-by-step to the liberation of Biafra from Nigeria. One is that for decades, for some of you who have realized from the beginning, immediately Mazen Amdekano was kidnapped, that the people following him were criminals. And you realize it immediately, you jump the face to the autopilot. Then, you are very, very smart to have done that. And I give every credit to you, all of you, because it means that you saw tomorrow. It means that you are a visionary person. And today you can be very proud that the decision you took in 2021 was indeed a very right decision, to support me, to support whoever that was with me then until today. You are going to write your name, or you already written your name in the book of history, because Biafra is here. Now, in all these years, are you hearing Biafra? For those of you who have joined Biafra struggle since it was Rike, there is nothing, there is no focus, there was no direction, there was no structure, there was nothing to show that you are indeed fighting for Biafra. And when we talk about Biafra, we are talking about a nation. We're talking about a country. For you to have a country, you must be able to organize yourself, build a government structure, build a government institution, not just shouting, you want freedom, and there is no structure, there is nothing that shows seriousness, there is no organized government institution to prove to the world that you are actually ready for freedom. That we have changed within 2 years. My fellow Biafran, as a Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile, while I was the spokesperson of the Biafra people, we were able to put the required structures and government institution that the international community and every reasonable organization in the world will require from you to show seriousness that you are indeed ready for your freedom and ready for your country and ready for your nation. We were able to set up the Biafra government in exile. From the Biafra government in exile, we went into setting up the Biafra de facto government. From the Biafra de facto government, we are now working on state-by-state map and state-by-state structure. And for that reason, we have been able to come up with the Biafra name, official name, which is the Biafra United States of Biafra. And as of today, it remains 40 states. The 40 states may change from tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have given a deadline for every region, for every ethnic nationality that see themselves as part of Biafra to come up with their state structure. Tomorrow is the last date. So from tomorrow, we may have a slight change in the 40 states. It may be more than 40 states. It may still be 40 states, but change of names according to what the people actually want. So tomorrow being the deadline for every ethnic nationality within Biafra territory to submit their state structure, then Biafra people will be updated again. So you should be expecting another State of the Union address on the 5th of December 2023, where we will come to address Biafra again on the current and updated state structure and the number of states. Within 2 years, my fellow Biafrans, we have been able to set up the Biafra forces for you to be able to be recognized as a state, for you to merit or meet the requirement to be listened to by any reasonable organization, including the United Nations, America, Europe, and every other, is for you to be able to show the capacity that you are ready to become a nation and to become a free country of your own. That is one. You must be able to show the capacity to control forces, army, military forces. These military forces, Biafra government in exile and the Biafra Republic government, de facto government in the homeland, has been able to have and unveiled the Biafra Liberation Army. The Biafra Liberation Army has been unveiled and they are very, very potent. The Biafra Liberation Army has been able to display the highest tenacity by defeating the Nigerian army in every attempt for them to invade our land. It is the reason the Chief of Defense Staff and every other Chief of Security in Nigeria went to the National Assembly to cry that Simon Ekpa has become a menace in Nigeria. It is not just by ordinary broadcasting on social media, it is because of what the Biafra forces has done. And that particular statement is a validation of the fact that Biafra has a military department. It is a fact that Biafra has army under the government. Even though they have not they are yet to start recognizing them and mentioning the Biafra Liberation Army, we know they are going to be forced to mention Biafra Liberation Army in due time, because we are changing the pattern of our offensive from this month of December. So Biafrans, we've been able to set up our Biafra Army. It is part of the requirement for you to become a nation. So those of you who have been, supporting the Biafra from Owazurike up to this point, and without direction, without any structure, other than the structure of criminality, other than how they deceived Mazen Nnamdi Kanu and sold him, that is what you who have deviated from supporting the Nigeria Pressure Group to supporting the real Biafra liberation movement of today, of which I am the Prime Minister, you have made a very wise decision. And I am this evening to tell you that the decision you've made has brought us this far. And I'm here to tell you step by step how a nation is restored. We have been able to do that. And again, the delegitimization of the Nigeria government within Biafra land have started in full force. We have announced the delegitimization of Nigeria, which is part of the Biafra liberation. This means that now we are focusing on making sure that all the terrorists in police uniform, all the terrorists in army uniform, all the terrorists in navy uniform, any army carrying or arm carrying terrorist under Nigeria state carrying arms, and you are in Biafra territory, our aim is to make sure we neutralize you before you kill any Biafra. You are not there for the progress of the Biafra people. We continue to ban the military checkpoint, police checkpoint, and any checkpoint at all, be it Navy, be it Air Force, any checkpoint at all in Biafra land remain banned. And any day you will be attacked if you are in a checkpoint. That you are not being attacked today does not mean that you're not going to be attacked tomorrow. That's why we continue to call on Biafrans to stay 1 kilometer away from any checkpoint. Our aim Our objective and our target is to make sure we neutralize every checkpoint within Biafra territory. It is part of the Biafra government project. We also make it very clear that we are calling on the Nigeria state, on Islamic Nigeria state, to pull and withdraw every security agency from Biafra land. And what we have done also is for those who are asking always, where is your Biafra map? I want to inform you today that the Biafra government in exile and the Biafra de facto government have been able to work on the map of Biafra. The map of Biafra, where you have the present southeast, the present south-south, and also part of Benue and part of Kogi, Lower Kogi State. Lower Benue and part of Lower Kogi State. And those maps will be out officially from tomorrow, the 4th day of December. So for those who have been always shouting and abusing indigenous people of Biafra, led by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, people like Tony Nadi, people like all those idiotic people who always shout, where is your map? Where is your map? We are proudly telling them today that Biafra has a map that the people by themselves organized, people by themselves structured, people by themselves organized, and they were all happy about the outcome of these maps and outcome of these state structures. If you are not part of it, it is normal. You do not expect everybody to be part of a liberation movement like this. People will agree, some people will not agree. And that's why when the time for the referendum comes, we are expecting some people against it. It is a normal thing. But the idea and the good news is that those who are supporting the liberation of Biafra are more in number. We have about 90% or 99% of Biafra people who do not want to be part of Nigeria again, running into 70 million of people. So when they tell you all these years, where is your map? You are shouting Biafra. You have not consulted the people. You have not done this. You have not done that. Today, we have broken the jinx. And the people of the South-South, as they call it today, have been given the opportunity for them to come up with their own map, and they are working on that very, very diligently. And by tomorrow, we are going to have the complete map of the Biafra. And then you are going to see your state, your villages, your district, your counties, step by step, as we have done it. So the issue of map has also been addressed. This is one of the biggest challenges that the Biafra movement has encountered for ages. No map, no agreement, because what we're able to do is to give the people the opportunity to, by themselves, choose how they want to be governed and how they want to govern themselves, and also to be themselves resolve the issue of boundaries and map. That has brought us to where we are today. The issue of map has been resolved. Another issue that we are also going to inform the Biafra people today is the issue of the leadership in the South-South and the leadership in the Southeast. The leadership, those in the leadership, those in the political leadership, those in the religious leaders and all that, we do not need your voice. We no longer need your voice. We don't need you to speak good about Biafra. We don't need you to advocate for Biafra, because Nigeria is a very volatile state. Now that they are completely Islamic state recognized by the United Kingdom, you do not have the freedom of speech. Once you side Biafra, you will be eliminated. And those of you who are general overseers in the church, once you talk about Biafra, your church will become a target. Either target of sanction, either target of closure, either target of persecution and intimidation. And we do not want that to happen to you, because you have not spoken up to this point. We are calling on all religious leaders, all political leaders who are having double mind, and they know that indeed Biafrans are not welcome in Nigeria. All you need to do is to support the current Biafra Republic government in exile financially. Is to support the Biafra de facto government in the homeland financially. Is to support the Biafra military, Biafra forces, and Biafra fighters financially. We don't need you to speak. Your voice doesn't add anything as the current Nigeria state as it is standing. The time your voice is needed is over. There is no amount of statement you are going to give today that is going to change anything. So what you need is to support the movement secretly, financially, in order to secure yourself when Biafra comes. Because without your finance, Biafra is indeed going to come. And I want to inform every Biafran who have been asking, when are you going to declare Biafra? You told us that Biafra is going to come in 2023. Indeed, you are already in Biafra government. You are already in Biafra land. You are already in Biafra as a nation. You have a state of your own. You have the military of your own. And we are going to work on the police, because police is going to be state by state police. So when you are expecting when Biafra is going to be declared, you are already in Biafra. We have actually systematically declared Biafra. And I want you to understand that what we are doing now is exactly the thing that the Nigeria Islamic movement did in the Nigeria Constitution. They restructured Nigeria, the Fulanis, they restructured Nigeria systematically. And today, you find out that it was not very difficult for them to have a Muslim ticket. Why you are still shouting a secular state, and you are going to church and shouting prayer, oh, God is not possible, no Muslim can never rule the country. It is a systematic restructure. They have restructured it, and we have said this thing several times. So what we are doing now is, when you are expecting us to start fighting conventional war and start declaring Biafra, that is a nomadic way of fighting for freedom. What we do now is to put every government institution in place, to structure the government institution from A to Z, to have the government, the state government, to have the counties, to have the district, and then also appoint leaders to occupy those positions. And by doing that, you have formed a state within a state, and it is going to be a systematic way to also liberate Biafra. So while Nigeria have done their own, the Fulanis have done their own for many years, we are now starting to do the right thing. Since the beginning of the struggle for Biafra, this is the only time we have gotten it right. I am telling you, since the beginning of Biafra, this is the only time we've gotten it right. And by the time we finish setting up the state structure, we go a very ruthless offensive against Nigeria terrorist security in Biafra land, which is going to start very, very soon. And we are going to make sure we deal with them mercilessly until you see them no more anywhere in Biafra land. So this particular state institution is what is needed for you to prove to the international community, to whoever care to know, that indeed you have organized yourself. You have organized yourself, having a de facto government, having a government structure, running the government, which we are already doing, making sure that every government institution, you have created them. You may not have them physically. We are not going to have any physical structure at this point until we begin to evict the security forces with their weapons before we begin to talk about a physical structure. At this point, we are only creating the structures of the government institution to make sure that whenever we are called upon, we have something to present to the people who care to know. This includes the economic viability of Biafra. This includes every other government department, and this we have actually done, and the next is going to be the currency of Biafra. The Biafra currency, before we go into that, we will make sure that a kind of Biafra coin is in play, and Biafra people will be able to start using Biafra currency in coin before the official inauguration or the official unveiling of the Biafra Central Bank. And for those who do not understand how this is done, we will continue to use Naira as long as we have not declared Biafra. We will continue to use whatever that we have within the Nigeria state until the day we declare Biafra. Before the declaration of Biafra, everything has to be put in place. You have to have the Biafra currency in place. You have to have all these state structures in place. You have to have everything, including the passport, in place. And today, we are not only putting these structures and institutions in the homeland, we are also putting the Biafra Lands offices, which will later become the Biafra embassy in different countries of the world. My fellow Biafran, I want to inform you people that from now going forward, those states that we witness killings of Biafra people, we are going to sanction them heavily. I want to appeal to every Biafran to understand that the freedom fighting is not something that you expect not to lose. You are going to lose. You are going to make sacrifice. And that sacrifice is something that you must do. So when we begin to impose certain measures, when we begin to impose sit at home or other civil disobedience, as the case may be, it is not targeted at punishing you, the Biafra people. It is targeted at delegitimizing the Nigeria government. It is targeted at weakening the Nigeria government. It is targeted at making sure that the power of the governors is reduced. It's targeted at making sure that the power of the governors is taken away from them, because these are the people that Nigeria planted in us, and they are not representing the interests of the people. They represent the interests of Nigeria state and their own personal interests. So the sit at home and other civil disobedience is not targeted at you, the Biafra people. Rather, it is targeted at showing how weak the system is. It is targeted at showing to the world that the Biafra people has rejected those illegitimate governors. It is targeted at showing to the world and to whoever care to know that the Biafra people are no longer interested in their leadership. It is to show to the world that Biafras are loyal to this government, which is the Biafra government in exile and the de facto government, which has now have its structure, well structured, both in diaspora and in Biafra land. So the sit-at-home civil disobedience is sort of come to the history at the end of the day, because you are making history today. And for that reason, the killing of Biafrans in Ihala and Yuli, for that reason, we are locking down Anambra State tomorrow. And I want everyone to understand that tomorrow, lockdown in Anambra will be something you have never seen before. I want everyone to cut this video and share it to all WhatsApp group, all business and traders group, any shop or any market that open tomorrow. Believe me, Biafra people will deal with that market. It is the Biafra government that is ordering the lockdown of Anambra State. We will make sure that no government offices will be open in Anambra tomorrow. If any office open in Anambra, we will raise them down. If any government office opens in Anambra State tomorrow, it does not matter how long it's going to take. It does not matter how many months it's going to take. We will bring it down. That is the price you pay. And this particular civil disobedience is very, very important to punish the government of Anambra State, that you can never kill Biafra again and go free. To punish Soludo, to make Soludo, who is an illegitimate governor as far as Biafra is concerned, that all the Anambra State have now forced it. To inform Soludo that he is no longer in charge of Anambra State, representing Nigeria. To inform Soludo that Anambra remain Biafra, and Biafra Anambra shall be. By tomorrow, every road leading to Anambra will be under curfew. I want everyone to understand what I'm saying. I did not say sit at home. I said curfew, 6 to 6. Anambra will be locked down tomorrow, 4th day of December 2023, Anambra will be locked down on the 5th, which is next tomorrow, the 5th December 2023, and the 6th December 2023. These 3 days is a day we are going to use to hunt down the killers of that little boy. This particular 3 days is the day we are going to use to hunt down the killers of Biafrans in Uli. Those people that killed those children, those people that killed that little boy in Ihiala. It is from tomorrow. From tonight, not even from tomorrow. From tonight, we are hunting them. So if you know that you are in Anambra State and you are a Biafran and you are wearing any terrorist uniform from the army, from the police, from tonight, go and hide it. Believe me, go and hide it. You people have committed atrocities, war crime, genocide unchecked. And now we are checking it. So this particular order, make sure that no movement of any Nigeria terrorist in uniform in Anambra State, starting from tomorrow. Any place we see you, any place we see you moving with gun in Anambra State, from tomorrow, you will go down. It is to show you that you can no longer kill Biafra again. And let me tell you, after this particular sit at home in Anambra State, things will never remain the same. So, fellow Biafra, like I said before, when you look at what is happening around the world, there are crises everywhere. There are war everywhere. We are not going into conventional war at this point. For those thinking that we are going to fight war with Nigeria, we are already at war with Nigeria. And this war this time around is not a conventional war. It's a systematic war that anybody who stepped his foot as a military man, as a police, to come to kill in Biafra land, you will be dead. You can never go back alive. I want to inform Biafra people that the Biafra Liberation Army from tomorrow is embarking on Operation Python must be killed. Killing the python. From tomorrow, the Biafra Liberation Army, the Biafra resistance fighters will be embarking on Operation Killing the Python. Operation Killing the Python. Those python that danced in Biafra land and killed many Biafrans. From tomorrow, it is Operation Killing the Python, wherever they are. Any place you see them, bring them down. These are the people who have killed without remorse. They have no regard to constitution. They have no regard to law. They have no regard to international law. They have no regard to rule of engagement. They come, they kill, and nobody check them. And today, we are well armed to defend our land. And for that reason, the python must be killed. So from tomorrow, fellow Biafran, I want everybody to understand that any place you see any military car, any military van, any military terrorist van, any terrorist police van, run! Because to avoid getting hit by stray bullet. We do not want any civilian to suffer. We do not want any civilian or Biafra person to die. We do not want any scratch to happen to any civilian. It is our duty as a government to protect you. It's our duty as a government to make sure we provide the security that Nigeria has never provided for you since you were born. And that's why I will continue to shout, to give directive that you must stay very clear and stay away from any moving military vehicle, any moving military police vehicle, any security agent that carries gun in Biafra land. Don't go close to them because stray bullet may hit you. Operation Python must be killed. Will be activated from the 4th of December 2023. Fellow Biafran, as we have completed setting up the Biafra de facto government, state structure, and other institution, the Biafra liberation will have come to almost a conclusive end. And when the state starts functioning as it should be, we will then go into the data collection of the Biafra people. The data collection of Biafra people will be announced very, very soon. Solution is there. Those of you in diaspora will have access and opportunity to have Biafra national identity card. It is only open to the Biafrans in diaspora, and those in the homeland will only have the opportunity to have their data collected. The data collection is very important, very imperative in the pursuit for the liberation of Biafra, especially on the upcoming Biafra self-referendum. And when this starts happening, you are going to be informed. So my fellow Biafran, when they ask you what has Simon Ekpa done, what has autopilot in those days done, what has Biafra government in exile done, tell them we have actually restored Biafra. Tell them that we have constituted, we have formed a government. Tell them that we did not only form the exile government, we have also formed a de facto government. Tell them we did not just form a government, we have built and structured all the government institutions. That is the prerequisite requirement for a nation to stand. That is a prerequisite requirement for a nation to be approved. That's a prerequisite requirement for people who are serious organizations to know that you actually know what you're doing and you're actually ready to govern yourself. And like I said, we do not expect anybody from the the looters and corrupt leaders to support what we are doing. It is not for them. Biafra is not for them. Biafra is for those who have been deprived their right and opportunity for decades since the creation of Nigeria. It is not for those who Nigeria has made what they have become today. So we are not expecting people like Iwanyanwu to support Biafra. We are not expecting people like Abaribe to support Biafra. We are not expecting people like Hopu Zodema to support Biafra. They are already made by Nigeria, and they can never support Biafra, and they can never support the movement. So we are not expecting them to support, and they don't speak for us. In the next phase, we will look into banning Ohaneze from any activity in Biafra land. That is the next phase that is coming. But we are very, very busy in making sure that we organize ourselves very well, as the man who died, who called himself Buhari, said. That particular organizing yourself is very, very important. A lot of people did not pick that particular point from that man. And so we are making sure that everything that we should do, we are doing it. We're making sure that what the international law requires as a nation to be recognized, as a nation to be approved, is being done by the Biafra government, both in the homeland and in exile. Today, I am very proud of all of you who have supported financially and otherwise to make sure that we are where we are today. I want you to understand that Biafra land is secured. Biafra land can never be Islamized. Biafra people are very unique. We are very stubborn, and we are very brave people. And today, I am very, very proud to inform you that your braveness, your courage, and your support has brought us where we are today. We have also listened to the Elders Forum of the Northern Elders Forum statement, asking that Igbos should be allowed to go, or Southeast, however they call it. But we want to inform them that there is nothing like Southeast. There is nothing like South-South. There is nothing like Ndi Igbo should go. We are coming with our map. Biafra is coming with the map. And by the time we finish with the map from tomorrow, we are going to make it public, so that whoever that is addressing those who want to exit Nigeria, those who want to exit Nigeria as Biafra, they will address us properly. They will understand that this is not just Igbo affair. This is not just Igbo cause. This is a Biafra cause, and they must address us as such. I want to also make everyone understand that they have been avoiding mentioning Biafra Liberation Army. They have been avoiding mentioning Biafra government. These are the things they avoid. The Biafra Liberation Army neutralized Nigeria Army, kill them when they come to kill Biafra people. And when they want to report it, they report unknown gunmen. What kind of stupidity and confusion is that? Biafra government, Biafra Liberation Army, and Biafra resistance fighters taking responsibility of neutralizing the terrorist army who come to Biafra land to kill. And this responsibility we are taking because we are neutralizing them. But each time they want to report, they report that it is unknown gunmen. We are not unknown gunmen. Biafra Liberation Army has been unveiled officially by myself during the Helsinki Convention. And also, I would like to address the issue of the images that were being displayed on their social media by the Nigeria Terrorist Army, that they captured about 100 or 30 ESN personnel. I want everyone to understand that the people that were captured has absolutely nothing to do with the Biafra Liberation Army. You can never capture Biafra Liberation Army. You can never go close to Biafra Liberation Army, except those, if any, who want to sell out. They can go to you and you arrest them. But anybody that is in Biafra Liberation Army camp, you can never go close to them. So I want to, inform Biafra people to disregard whatever that you see on social media flying. We are very proud of our men. We are very, very proud of our personnel. They are well trained, well grounded, and they have overpowered Nigerian military, as evidently can be confirmed by the cry of the Chief of Defense Staff. That cry you see is a cry of people that have been overpowered by the Biafra Liberation Army. Our offensive will start tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day that the offensive of the Biafra Liberation Army will go to the next level, and it is called Operation Kill the Python. Python danced many years ago, Python 1, Python 2, Python 3, Python 4, and they killed Biafran without remorse. Today, we are going to hunt them down in Biafra land. Anybody wearing that khaki is a Python, and the person, that particular Python must be killed. Again, on the issue of the liberation task. The liberation task is going to be activated in Biafra land very, very soon. As soon as the state structure is complete, we are going to activate the Biafra liberation task in all states of Biafra. So every state will have a structure and measures how their Biafra liberation tax will be collected. As of today, the Biafra de facto government has appointed the finance minister, which is known to only those executives of the state. The finance minister and other financial department in the Biafra de facto government is coming up with measures how the Biafra liberation tax will be collected, and everybody in Biafra land and those in Nigeria will be given opportunity to participate in funding the Biafra liberation. Last but not least, we want to use the opportunity to call every personnel, Biafra personnel or Biafra person serving in Nigeria Army, Nigeria Police, Nigeria Navy, Nigeria Air Force. If you are serving in all these institutions mentioned now, and you are very close to Biafra land or you are in Biafra land, resign. Resign. If they bring you to Biafra, resign, because once you have that uniform on, we don't know who you are. You are the enemy and you are our enemy. This is a last warning and last call for you to resign. If you are deployed to Biafra territory to kill, pull off your cloth and resign, and look for contact where you can contact me or some of your group if you want to serve the Biafra army or the Biafra forces. You are welcome. You are welcome, and you will be treated and respected, not what they are giving you or trying to kill you for nothing within the Nigeria state. Biafra will value you, and once you fight for Biafra, it is something that you should be proud of. So every one of you that are serving within Biafra territory, today is your last day. Both police, today is your last day. Army, today is your last day. Navy, today is your last day. Except you are not in Biafra land. If you are not in Biafra land, it is your problem. You can die in the north, that is your business. But if you are in Biafra land, today, this 3rd day of December is your last day in Biafra land. Resign. Pull off your cloth and stop killing Biafrans. Because if we catch you in that uniform, it does not matter who you are gone. Thank you very much for being part of this program, and especially on the issue of the sit at home tomorrow in Anambra. Remember that tomorrow is also the normal Monday sit at home, especially the people in Enugu State. Those of you in Enugu State, nobody has called off or cancelled the sit at home in Enugu State. Enugu State, you are inviting the wrath of Biafra. And when that wrath comes, you will not stand it. Enugu State will be locked down tomorrow. And if there is any challenges in Enugu, we will then single Enugu out for complete lockdown. And if it is Enugu, we will bring our gate, we will open the gate in Enugu. If after tomorrow there is any slight issue with the sit at home in Enugu State tomorrow, we are going to open gate in Enugu. A very heavy one, and everybody will feel it. The liberation of Biafra is not a child play. You must be ready to pay the price. You must be ready to sacrifice. And the sacrifice you are going to make is just this little small civil disobedience. In order to delegitimize Nigeria, in order to make Nigeria useless, in order to make the government that Nigeria has instituted in our land to be very useless. That's what we are doing, nothing else. And then it is going to lead to the declaration of Biafra immediately. The state structure is complete. So I am calling all the states that are yet to submit their structures to make sure that they meet up with the deadline tomorrow. Tomorrow remains the deadline. The 4th of December, every structure of the state must be submitted. I want to thank you all for being part of this particular briefing today. Remember that you are already in Biafra land. Remember that the Biafra nation is already there. You are already, if you are in Biafra land, if you are in the south, southeast, and the lower Benue, another part of lower Kogi, you are already in Biafra. Don't wait for me to declare it. We have already declared Biafra. For the fact that you find yourself in those states, for the fact that we control and enjoy the loyalty of the Biafra people, you are already in Biafra. Wait until I declare Biafra after the structure has been put in place, after we have done and concluded our self-referendum. The Biafra has come. Fellow Biafran, I want to assure you that indeed Biafra has been restored in 2023. It can never be possible without the structures we have put in place. It can never be possible without what we are bringing to the table. The government institutions and everything that we have done so far. That is what can bring Biafra. And that is what will bring Biafra. And that is what has brought Biafra to the limelight. And that is why you are now living in Biafra territory. It remains the declaration after the self-referendum, which we are already putting everything in place. You are going to follow this particular historic step by step. You are going to follow the history of how Biafra will become a nation step by step. Our own is to make sure that Nigeria terrorist security forces in Biafra land, the Woto can never stop. We will continue to give them Woto will continue until they leave. Our demand is that every security agent in Biafra land representing Nigeria must be withdrawn. You must be withdrawn. If you don't withdraw them and they're still in Biafra land, they will all die there. Thank you. May God bless you. From here, from me, is good evening.
Nigeria, on a daily basis, witness the impunity which is so-called Fulani herdsmen extremists who share an ethnic and religious identity with President Buhari and the Fulani elite, which now dominates all key institutions in Nigeria.
To open an investigation specifically into the wide-scale and systematic killing of the civilian population, and most notably targeting the indigenous people of Biafra.
Clear that now we put the Biafran issue on the radar screen of the government, of the Biden.
Invite them for talks.
Why should we invite them?
For the most part, they appear to be young people, as you say, with no recollection
Yeah, they didn't know what
of
what
the war,
happened.
the
Okay.
1967-70 war. But these are disaffected young men for the most part, but young women as well, who are protesting, it would appear, against their reduced economic opportunities. Government allocations to state governments in that region have been reduced by something like 50%. These people
How
want
much was
jobs.
oil costing? For the last 16 years, it was costing from over $140 per barrel, now to sometimes under 30. So the system of allocation has to correspond